This video is every question on Section 1 of SAT Practice Test 8. But it's pointless to watch this video or do 100 or 1,000 SAT questions if you don't understand the structure of the test. Knowing and understanding the structure of the SAT is the single biggest thing that you can do to raise your score right now. Both SAT math sections have a rigid order of difficulty. Questions get more difficult as each section goes on. Most people know that. The EBLE Testing Service blueprint for Section 1 of any SAT looks like the bar graph on the left. The first 7 questions are easy. Then on question 8, you got to switch gears. Questions 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 are medium. Questions 14 to 20 are hard. And then the last 2 questions are going to be stupid hard. How can you use this information to maximize your score? The first 7 questions are so fundamentally easy that you are not allowed to miss any of them ever. Go fast, but don't hurry. Spend just enough time to get them all right. They're all going to be 1 or 2 step math. Then on question 8, you got to switch gears. Medium questions are not easy. They're not hard, but you got to spend more time on each question. Plug in the answers wherever you can. Medium questions are where good methodical work will really pay off. Hard questions start around 14. You want to be really aware of that. There will be 2 stupid hard questions, usually at the very end of Section 1. And usually question 22 on Section 1 is like the hardest question. Stupid hard is a personal thing. What's stupid hard for me might only be hard for you. And if you're looking to get over a 700 on math in the SAT, it's absolutely imperative that you rack up as many right answers as possible on Section 1. Section 2 is a lot harder. Your goal should be to miss no questions, but just 1 question. Really make it your goal to miss just 1 question. And your goal should be to miss a stupid hard question. You shouldn't spend much time on that stupid hard question that you're going to miss. Spend your time on questions you can get. That's easy for people to understand it. It's actually kind of hard to accept. Don't waste a bunch of time on some stupid hard problem that you're probably going to get wrong. The actual Section 1 on SAT Practice Test 8 is pretty true to the ETS blueprint. First 7 questions are easy. Basically, they're one-stop math. Number 8 is medium. Number 9 is a gift. It's super easy. I don't know what it's doing there. Then you're going to see some medium questions. And then the hard questions kick in on number 14. And in fact, the last 2 questions are stupid hard. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Section 1, Question 1. Level of difficulty here is spectacularly easy. You should never be nervous about taking the SAT because the first several questions you see are going to be like just gimmies, like this one. What's the y-intercept of the graph shown? So anytime I see y-intercept, I always write down y-intercept equals x equals 0. And this is just, can you read a graph? Here's x equals 0, right? Because it's nothing left, nothing right. Y is at what? It's at 8. So it's 0, 8. Answer is D. Get it right real quick and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 2. Level of difficulty is very, very easy. ETS is begging you to get this question right. The function f is defined by f of x equals negative 3x plus 60. What's the value of f of x when x equals negative 8? It's a function. Can you follow directions? Awesome. Then you can do a function. All you got to do is every time you see an x, you're going to put in a negative 8. So it's negative 3 times, there's an x, negative 8 plus 60. Negative 3 times negative 8 is 24, plus 60, don't be ashamed to use your calculator. Guys, it's 84. And that's answer choice D. So you move pretty quick through this one, you get it right, and you move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 3. A producer is creating a video with a length of 70 minutes. The video will consist of segments that are 1 minute long and segments that are 3 minutes long. Which equation represents this situation, where X represents the number of 1 minute segments and Y represents the number of 3 minute segments? So what's the level of difficulty here? It's easy. It's very easy. These problems are pretty much all the same. I call them like algebra with words. And the first place you want to go is you want to see what the X and the Y are, or what the letters are. So here, what's X? It's the 1 minutes. And what's Y? It's the 3 minutes. So you're going to have X, right? And what's Y going to be? It's going to be 3Y. So just write down A, B, C, D and see what you can cross off here. So this C has a 3X. No, you were looking for 3Y. D has 3Y and it has an X. That's good. What about, are 4s going to appear anywhere here? Is there somehow going to be a 4? No. So this is like a 15-second problem. You get it right and you move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 4. Level of difficulty here is easy. It's very easy. A bowl contains 20 ounces of water. When the bowl is uncovered, the amount of water in the bowl decreases by 1 ounce every 4 days. If 9 ounces of water remain in this bowl, how many days has it been uncovered? So what are you looking for? How many days uncovered? Guys, this problem is a proportion with a very minor twist. Proportions are always the same on every SAT. Every proportion is a fraction, equal sign a fraction. You have to keep the stuff on top on both sides. You have to keep the stuff on bottom for both sides. So we've got water decreases by 1 ounce every 4 days. That's your proportion. Put an equal sign. You can have another fraction. On top goes ounces, on bottom goes days. You're looking for days, so that goes on the bottom. Here's the minor twist. If 9 ounces remain, you started with 20 ounces. How many ounces went away? 11 ounces. So let's just cross multiply. It's going to be X equals 4 times 11, which is 44. That's answer choice D. And that's it. It's easy. Get it right and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 5. The first 7 questions on any Section 1 of any SAT are going to be easy. So what's the level of difficulty of this question? This is an easy question. Even if you've never seen standard deviation in your life, even if you're scared of the term. Each of the dot plots shown represents the number of glue sticks brought in by each student for 2 classes, Class A and Class B. Which statement best compares the standard deviations of the number of glue sticks brought in by each student for these 2 classes? Well, let's just compare the charts. Standard deviation. What's this mean? Deviate. You know what that means. It means to change. So even if you've never seen the term before, how much do these 2 charts change? This says 1 dot, 14 has 1 dot, 2 has 1 dot, 15 has 1 dot, 3 has 3 dots, 16 has 3 dots, here's 4 dots, here's 4 dots, 5 dots, 5 dots, 6 dots and 7 dots, 6 dots and 7 dots. Are there any differences between these 2 charts? There are not. They're exactly the same. So how do these 2 charts deviate? Well, they don't deviate at all. So when you go down to the answer choices, you're looking for things that say these 2 charts are the same. And you want to cross off things that don't say that. A says, standard deviation of the number of glue sticks brought in by each student from Class A is less. No, you could see they're the same, so cross that out. B, standard deviation of the number of glue sticks brought in by each student for Class A is equal to the standard deviation of the number of glue sticks brought in Class B. Well, that's what we said, so let's keep that. C, standard deviation is greater in A than it is in B. Well, we said they're the same. They can't be greater. And then D says there's not enough information to compare the standard deviations. Well, we figured out they're the same, right? So the answer's got to be B. You can get this question right real quick. It's very, very easy. Don't get flustered by terms you don't know. You can figure it out. Get it right, move on. This is SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 6. What's the level of difficulty here? It's easy. The first 7 questions of any Section 1 of any SAT are going to be easy. Which expression is equivalent to this big ol' mess? I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. I'm going to show you the real math way, which is what I would choose since it's an easy question. I don't really like to plug in on easy questions. There's no need. But I'm also going to show you how you could plug in if you want to. 7x to the third, I'm going to save a step here. I'm going to get rid of these parentheses. Plus 7x, easy enough, minus 6x to the third, but negatives can really kill. Be careful here, right? It's minus, so it's plus 3x. I'm going to write down A, B, C, D, and I'm just going to combine like terms one at a time. So here's 7x to the third. This goes with any other x to the third. See any? There's one. So it's 7 minus 6 x to the third. So it's just x to the third. So now go and cross off any answer choices that don't have just x to the third. So B and C are gone. And then come in here and do this. 7x and 3x, that's plus 10x. And so the answer is A. Alright, if you want to stick with me, I'll show you how you can plug in here. It's obviously really easy. How do you know that you can plug in? You've got variables in the problem. You've got variables all over the answer choices. So you just want to make them an easy number for x, like 2. And then when you're plugging in, you don't want to get rid of this parentheses. You just want to say 7 times 2 to the third, so 7 times 8, which is 56, plus 7 times 2, which is 14, minus 6 times 8, which is 48, minus 3 times 2, which is 6. So 56 plus 14, don't be afraid to use your calculator, that's 70, minus 48, minus 6. That's 70 minus 42. Even I'm going to use my calculator on this, and I'm going to get 28. So 28 is my target. I'm going to circle it, go down to the answer choices. A says x to the third. I said x is 2, so that's 8 plus 10 times 2. 8 plus 20, that's 28. That's the answer. We knew that was going to happen. But if I try them all, this is negative 13 times 8 plus 20. Definitely calculator math. 13 times 8, negative 104 plus 20. I don't need to do any more. That's not going to be 28. So now I'm going to do C. I know that this is going to be negative 104 plus 4 times 2, so plus 8. Don't need to do anything with that. Obviously not going to be 28. And then D is 8 plus 4 times 2. That's 16. That's not 28. So either way you slice it, you're going to get answer choice A. It's an easy question, easy answer. You can definitely do the real math, no problem. Just got to be careful with negatives. Get it right, move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 7. What's the level of difficulty here? It's easy. First 7 questions on Section 1 are always going to be easy. In triangle ABC, the measure of angle A is 54 degrees. Measure of angle B is 90 degrees, and the measure of angle C is K over 2 degrees. What's the value of K? So write down what you want. Evil Testing Service has described a figure, but where is it? It's not here. So you got to draw it. It's a triangle. What kind of triangle? It's a right triangle. How do I know that? Because it tells me that one of the degrees is 90 degrees, and that is a right triangle. Which angle is 90 degrees? B. Doesn't matter where you put A or C. I'm just going to put A on top, C here. All right, what's A? 54 degrees. So you may not know much geometry, but you know there's 180 degrees in this triangle. And how many degrees do you know about? 90 plus 54. So put that in your calculator. You're going to get 144. You're going to take that number away from 180. Also do that on your calculator. And you're going to get 36. What's 36? angle C is 36. So you know that angle C is k over 2, and you know that k over 2 is 36. Now watch this. Put this over 1 when I have fractions and non-fractions. I make everything a fraction, so I can really easily see that I can just cross multiply. K is 36 times 2. That's 72, and the answer is C. Get this one right quickly, and now you move on to some medium questions. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math, Section 1, Question 8. What's the level of difficulty here? It's medium. It's the first medium in the first section. You've got this equation. What is one of the solutions to the given equation? Guys, this problem is a plug in the answer choices problem. How do I know that? It's because I've got either a story problem or just an equation, and Evil Testing Service is asking me straight up for the solution, and the answer choices are the only thing that I need. So I'm just going to go in, I'm going to write ABCD, and I'm just going to plug in one of the answers and see what works. Which answer choice should I start with? Well, I'm lazy, and I encourage you to be lazy too. What's the easiest answer choice here? I would say it's B, 0. So I'm just going to say x equals 0. I'm going to see what happens. So that would be 3 times 0, which is 0, times 0 minus 4 times 0 plus 5. That's going to be 0, right? Because 0 times anything, no matter what all this stuff is 0. So B works. Guys, that's it. That's the answer. When you plug in the answer choices and you find what you need, you get it, you move on. But let's try all the other ones. I know, you're a skeptic. So if we try answer choice A, that's x equals negative 4. 3 times negative 4, that's negative 12. Times negative 4 minus 4, that's negative 8. Times negative 4 plus 5, that's 1. That ain't going to be 0. So that's gone. Let's try answer choice C, 3. I'm going to do that over here. X equals 3. It's going to be 3 times 3, which is 9, times 3 minus 4, that's negative 1, times 3 plus 5, that's 8. Is that going to be 0? Nope, it's not. And then D says x equals 5. Okay, so 3 times 5 is 15, times 5 minus 4 is 1, times 5 plus 5 is 10. That ain't going to be 0 either. All the work that we just did, we did not need to do. As soon as we find the answer, when we plug in the answer choices, we didn't make anything up. We know we're right. We can get this problem very quickly and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 9. What's the level of difficulty supposed to be here? Is this supposed to be a medium? This problem is incredibly easy. A chemist combines water and acetic acid to make a mixture with a volume of 56 milliliters. The volume of the acetic acid in the mixture is 10 milliliters. What is the volume of water in milliliters in the mixture? Assume that the volume of the mixture is the sum of the volumes of water and acetic acid before they were mixed. All right, so we've got volume 56, and how much acid? 10. So, how much water? 46. That's first grade math. Couldn't be easier. Get it right and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 10. Level of difficulty here is medium. So on medium questions, you got to slow down just a little bit. You're not on easy questions anymore, but you can move pretty fast and you can get every single one of these right. A distance of 354 furlongs is equivalent to how many feet? 1 furlong is 220 yards. 1 yard is 3 feet. All right, guys, this is a proportion. Evil Testing Service writers love proportions. They're always the same. In a proportion, the stuff on top stays on top in both fractions. There's an equal sign between. And the stuff on top has to be exactly the same. The stuff on bottom has to be exactly the same. So what's the proportion? Start small. Start with small units. Don't start big. 1 yard to 3 feet. There's your proportion. Stuff on top is yards, stuff on bottom is feet. So on the right side, you're going to have a fraction. What goes on top? Yards, 220 yards. What goes on bottom? Feet. Don't know how many feet. But I'm about to find out, because I can just cross multiply. 220 times 3, that's 660 equals x. And what is it? It's feet. So 660 feet is 220 yards, and that's also 1 furlong. How many furlongs do I want? I want 354 furlongs. So I got to multiply that times 660. Guys, you can stop right here. Be confident. Look at these answer choices. It's going to be some ginormous number. It's going to be D. But if you want to use your calculator, go ahead. Sure enough, 354 times 660 is 233,640. Answer is D. Get it right. Move on along. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 11. What's the level of difficulty here? It's medium. You got 2 equations. At how many points do the graphs of the given equations intersect in the xy plane? This is simultaneous equations. How do I know that? Because I got 2 equations. Anytime you see simultaneous equations, you're going to stack them and you're going to add them or subtract them. So you want to rewrite them nice and stacked the way they are in the problem. You should be able to see pretty easily that if you subtract, you can make the y's go away. You get a big 0 here. And what happens to the x's? 2x minus 2x. Hey, that's a big 0 too. Well, I got no letters anymore. It doesn't particularly matter what this is over here. It's plus 11, but so what? What's going on? I lost all my letters. So how many points do the graphs intersect here, do you think? Nothing's going on. It's 0. There's no solutions here because all the letters dropped out. Pretty easy. Get it right and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 12. What's the level of difficulty here? It's medium. This problem is insanely gettable and easy if you do it the way I'm going to show you. 13 is p% of 25. What's the value of p? So I'll write down what I'm looking for. P. I'm going to circle it. How do you say what in math? You say x. Yeah, I don't know. In this case, we're going to say p. How do you say is in math? You say equals. How do you say of in math? You say times. In SAT land math, how should you say percent? You should say percent. Just make it a fraction over 100. If you do it this way, it's a straight, easy translation. 13 is p percent of 25. I have some fractions and some non-fractions. I'm going to make everything a fraction so I can see if I can reduce and cross multiply. 25p over 100. At this point, you could just use your calculator. I'm going to take one more step and reduce. I'm going to divide by 25 here and get 1. I'm going to divide by 25 here and get 4. And now I just got a nice clean cross multiplication. Boom, boom. P equals 13 times 4. Do not be ashamed to use your calculator. It's 52. And that's the answer. You get this question right very easily, and you move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 13. Level of difficulty here is medium. It's the last medium question in Section 1. It's a plug-in. There's no choice but to plug in on this problem. The function f of t equals 60,000 times 2 to the t over 410 gives the number of bacteria in a population t minutes after an initial observation. How much time in minutes does it take for the number of bacteria in the population to double? So write down what you're looking for. It doesn't have to be elegant or fancy. It just helps to know exactly what you want on these slightly complex questions. It's a function. SAT functions love 0 and 1. So if you're not sure what to do on a function, try plugging in 0 or 1. Write down the function. What is t? ETS tells you that t is minutes. Let's just try plugging in 0 here. So it's 60,000 times 2 to the 0 over 410. If t equals 0, what is 0 over 410? It's 0. So it's 2 to the 0. And what's 2 to the 0? What's anything to the 0? It's 1. So all of this is just 60,000 times 1, and you end up with 60,000. 60,000 what? 60,000 bacteria. What is 0 minutes? 0 minutes is when you start. That's the initial observation. So at the initial observation, you have 60,000 bacteria. What are you trying to get to? You're trying to get to 120,000 bacteria because you're trying to get it to double. All right, let's just run the function again. I'll do it over here, kind of run out of space. 60,000 times 2 to the t over 410. I want it to be 120,000. Just think about it. What's 60,000 times 2? That's 120,000, right? So what do I want t over 410 to be? Well, I obviously want it to be 1, because I want it to be 120,000 equals 120,000. So I guess you could do some fancy algebra here, but guys, think about it. If t over 410 is 1, what's t going to have to be? It's going to have to be 410. And that's it. That's the answer. You get it right, and now you move on to some fun, hard questions. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 14. What's the level of difficulty here? It's hard. It's the first hard question, kind of medium hard. Each year, the value of an investment increases by 0.49% of its value the previous year. Which of the following functions best models how the value of the investment changes over time? This question is so easy that it's hard. First thing you want to do on a question like this is write down A, B, C, D, and let's just ballpark. ETS tells us that the investment increases in value. So is it going to decrease or is it going to increase? The facts of the question say it's going to increase. So A and B are obviously gone. Now the question is it going to increase exponentially or is it going to increase linearly? The easiest way to do this is just to try it out. Is there anything special about 0.49% as a percentage that goes up? And there's not, other than the fact that it's obviously a crappy investment because it's not going up very much. It's not special that it's below 1%. It's going to operate like any percent. So let's just see what would happen with a percent that's easier. Like, how about 50%? And then how much money is invested here? ETS doesn't say, so let's just make something up. Let's make up year 0. We go to the bank and we invest $100. So at year 1, what happens here? It's $150. Okay, year 2 is going to be 50% of 150. So I'm just going to cross off zeros here. You could also do this on your calculator. That's $75. What's going to happen in that $75? You're going to add it to 150. Again, don't be ashamed to use your calculator here, and you're going to get $225. So year 0, you got $100. Year 1, you had $150. And now year 2, you got $225. Is this an exponential increase or is it linear? Linear means it goes up exactly the same and exactly the same way each time. Is that what's happening here? It's not. So the answer is C. You get this right real quick and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 15. What's the level of difficulty here? Hard. Guys, this problem is proof that Evil Testing Service hates you. A circle in the XY plane has a diameter within points 2, 4, and 214. An equation of this circle is this giant mess where r is a positive constant. What's the value of r? Alright, this is the circle formula. It's not in the SAT formulas box. You do not need it for this problem. You only need to know that r is the radius. Just draw this thing out, man. Here's the XY plane. I'm going to put 2 over on x because 2, 2. And then I'm going to go up by 2's. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So the first point is 2, 4. So that's 2, 4. So it goes right here. And the second point I know is 2, 14. So that's 2 and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I'll label these points. These are the endpoints of the diameter of the circle. If you want, you can draw the circle in here. It doesn't have to be to scale or anything like that. This is the diameter of the circle. That's what ETS tells you. Okay, well, let's just think, what do you think the radius is? This is the center of the circle. It goes from 14 up here to 4 down here. You can also count 2, 2, 4, 4. This is going to be in the middle here. Guys, this radius is going to be 5. And that's it. That's the answer to this question. You get it right, and you move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 16. What's the level of difficulty here? It's hard, but it's only hard because most people freak out when they see trigonometry on the SAT. Don't do that. You don't need to know any trigonometry to get this problem right. In right triangle RST, the sum of the measures of angle R and angle S is 90 degrees. The value of sine R is root 15 over 4. What's the value of cosine S? Alright, where is this figure? It's not here, so you got to draw it. It's a right triangle. Triangle RST, measures of angle R and angle S, when you add them up, is 90 degrees. So what do you think T is? T's got to be 90. Doesn't matter where you put R and S. Sine R is root 15 over 4. You're looking for cosine S, so write that down and circle it. All you need, virtually every time, to get any trig problem right on the SAT is SOHCAHTOA. Sine, cosine, tangent. The sine of R is root 15 over 4. It means that the opposite over the hypotenuse is root 15 over 4. So this is opposite over hypotenuse. Talking about the sides here. The opposite side of angle R. What do you think that is? It's across from it. Root 15. Hypotenuse. You know this one. It's right here. So this is 4. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Alright, adjacent means next to. There's two sides adjacent to angle S. One of them's the hypotenuse though, so that's not the one that's adjacent. It's this one. So it's root 15 over the hypotenuse, which is 4. Guess what? That's it. That's the answer. It's B. You get it right, it's easy. You move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 17. What's the level of difficulty here? It's definitely hard, but not if you plug in. How do you know this problem is a plug-in? There's a bunch of letters here. There's a bunch of letters here. There's a bunch of letters in the answer choices. There's no constants. It says in terms of something. It says in terms of P and K. These are all indicators that you can plug in. And if you plug in, you turn hard algebra into very easy arithmetic. The given equation relates the distinct positive numbers p, k, and j, which equation correctly expresses 4j plus 9 in terms of p and k. In your mind, I want you to cross off in terms of p and k. It's useless information. You're looking for 4j plus 9. So write it down and circle it. Go up here and make up numbers for letters. You should start plugging in where there's math happening. Is there more math happening at p, k, or j? It's obviously j. So I'm going to make j my favorite j in the whole wide world, my favorite number to plug in, which is 2, which means that 4j plus 9 is 4 times 2 plus 9, which is 17. Incidentally, that's what I'm looking for, so I'm going to go down here, I'm going to write it down, I'm going to circle it big. And then the next place that most math is happening is at k. I got to use something that's divisible by 17. I'm going to use 51. So k is 51. And then p, I don't get to make stuff up anymore. P has to be 51 divided by 17, so p has to be 3. I'm looking for 17. So k over p. K is 51 over p is 3. That checks out, that's 17. I'm golden. If I'm in a hurry, I could just pick it and move on. K times p, that's 51 times 3. I don't know what that is. I don't need to know. It is definitely not 17, so it's gone. K minus p, that's 48, not 17, so it's gone. And then p over k. This is probably the answer for the people who insist on doing algebra. 3 over 51, which is some little fraction. So the answer's got to be A. You are sure you're right when you leave this hard question, when you plug in. Please plug in. It's the easiest way to raise your score. Get it right and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 18. What's the level of difficulty here? It's hard. Evil Testing Service loves these questions. They come up all the time. I hate them. They're a lot of work. You can and should plug in the answer choices. It's the best way. You'll avoid all the potential wrong answers. It just sucks. You got this equation, y is bigger than 13x minus 18. And all they're asking every time is just which set of numbers in the answer choices works for x and y every time. So write A, B, C, D. And then just go down the answer choices and start plugging in. When you plug in, rewrite the chart. You don't have to write the whole chart, but write the numbers you're plugging in. It will help you to avoid confusing x and y. So here we've got y is 21. That's bigger than 13 times 3, 39, minus 18. Do that on your calculator. 39 minus 18 is 21. So, is 21 bigger than 21? It's not. So A is gone. You don't need to do any more work in A. And now you go to B. Again, write the chart, the parts that you're going to use to avoid mixing up x and y. This time we've got y is 26 is bigger than 13 times 3, you've already done that, 39 minus 18. You already know that that's 21. Is 26 bigger than 21? It is, that checks out. So, got to keep going. The next set of numbers is 5 and 42. So, y is 42. That's bigger than 13 times 5. Calculator math. That's 65. Minus 18. More calculator math. That's 47. Is 42 bigger than 47? It's not. So B is gone, and you move on. C. This time I've got y is 16. That's bigger than 13 times 3, 39, minus 18. You've already done that. 21. Is 16 bigger than 21? It's not. So C is gone. If you're in a hurry, you know D is the right answer, because nothing else works. But let's check it out. This time, what's my y? It's 26 is bigger than We've done this 18 times now. 39 minus 18. Checks out. All right? 52 is bigger than 13 times 5. We've already done that. That's 65 minus 18. 52 bigger than 47. Checks out. All right? So last one. 91 is y. Is bigger than 13 times 8. This one's new. Calculator math. 104 minus 18. More calculator math. 91 is bigger than 86. So the answer is D. You get this problem right. You know you're right. And now you get to move on to some really hard problems to close out section 1. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 19. What's the level of difficulty here? It's hard. How hard? Pretty hard. Keep that in mind. Line L is defined by 3y plus 12x equals 5. Line N is perpendicular to line L in the xy plane, because where else would it be? What's the slope of line N? So write down what you want and circle it. Let's talk about how to get this question wrong. Most people know how to find perpendicular slope. They know that you find the slope, which is attached to x, you flip the fraction, and you change the sign. So most people are going to say, okay, man, hey, that's 12. That's attached to x. I'm going to flip the fraction, and I'm going to change the sign. Guys, this is one-stop math. One-stop math is going to be right on easy SAT questions, but there's no way it's going to be right on hard SAT questions. There must be more going on. What else is going on? Well, the line equation looks like this in SAT land. Does this equation look exactly like this equation? It does not. So we're going to have to manipulate it. The y is in the right place. The x is not. We've got to move it across the equal sign. It's going to change signs. This plus 5 part doesn't really matter. We're looking for this. We're looking for the slope. Now, here's how most people are going to get it wrong again, right? They're going to say, oh, I see. So it's negative 12. So I'm going to flip it, and it's going to be positive, and they're going to stop right here. No. Y has to be naked and alone. Is y naked and alone? It's not. So you got to make it naked and alone. You got to divide every term by 3. Y equals negative 4x, and we're just looking for slope, so this part doesn't matter. Now, the slope, m, is negative 4. Now, after some steps, we can flip it and change the sign. And here is your answer. Notice that hard questions take some work, and they're tricky. Be careful, get it right, move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 20. What's the level of difficulty here? It's hard. You got this big old nasty equation. In the equation, d and g are unique positive constants. When the equation is graphed in the xy plane, how many distinct x-intercepts does the graph have? All right, so you can't write on the test. You've got to redraw this equation. What does x-intercept mean? I always write this down. Do I really write it down? Yes, I do. X-intercept equals y equals 0. And that makes sense, right? Little xy plane here. At the x-intercept, wherever it is, y is going to be 0 because it's on the x line. So y is 0. 2's not going to change. Either this is going to have to be 0, this is going to have to be 0, or this is going to have to be 0, or this is going to have to be 0. Because anytime you get 1 0 in here and you're multiplying, you're going to make everything 0, which is going to make y 0. All right, so x minus d could be 0. That's one thing that could be 0. X plus d could be 0. That's two things that could be 0. X plus g could be 0. That's 3 things that could be 0. X minus D can be 0, but you already did it, and it says unique here, it says distinct here. So how many distinct, unique times can you make a 0 in here to get y equals 0? And the answer is 3. So the answer is B. This problem is not that hard. You can get through it very fast. It's also a problem that comes up very frequently in the SAT. So in some form, you're going to see this. So understand how it works. Get it right and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math, Section 1, number 21. What's the level of difficulty here? It's hard. For most people, it's going to be stupid hard because they're going to see this term coefficient. They're going to see these exponent terms. They're going to freak out. But guys, this problem is very simple. It's really just a vocabulary problem. And it makes me mad because it's really easy. It's hard to explain. It's actually kind of poorly written. For the exponential function f, the value of f of 1 is k. K is a constant. Which of the following equivalent forms of the function f shows the value of k as the coefficient or the base? What's a coefficient? You've been dealing with coefficients your whole life. It's a fancy term for something very easy. Ever seen 3x? 3 is the coefficient. It's the number that's attached to a letter. You ever seen 4y? 4 is the coefficient. How about 8n? What's the coefficient? It's 8. So it's just like the beginning number. So you're going to do f of 1, which means you're going to follow the directions. So every time you see an x, just means put in a 1. Before we do it, what are the coefficients in these answer choices? What's the coefficient in A? It's 50. In B, it's 80. What is it in C? It's 128. And what is it in D? It's 204.8. So you're going to want to do the function and end up with the coefficient. So again, you're just following directions. Every time you see an x, you're going to put in a 1. So this one is 50 times 1.6 to the what? To the 1 plus 1, which is 2. Okay, you don't need to do anything else here because you know that you're going to try to get to 50. And whatever this is, it's way bigger. Well, it's somewhat bigger than 50. It's not 50. So that's gone. So I'm going to write A, B, C, D up here. Cross out A. Alright, B. Do it again. 80 times 1.6 to the what? To the 1, because it says we're supposed to do f of 1. So 80 times 1.6, you're supposed to end up with 80. Is that going to happen? No, you don't need to do anything with that. Alright, fine. Let's try C. 128 times 1.6 to the x minus 1, to the 1 minus 1. What's that? 0. Alright, this is interesting. There's a rule here that you got to commit to memory and know. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So what is 1.6 to the 0 power? It's 1. So all of this is just 128. So when we did the function, do we end up with the coefficient? We do. So C is the answer. If you want to try D, it's 204.8 times 1.6 to the 1 minus 2, which is negative 1. Some disastrous calculator thing that you have to do. You know you're not going to end up with 204.8. It's gone. The answer is question C, and it's really easy if you just understand what coefficient is and if you just run the function. Get it right and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math, Section 1, Question 22. What's the level of difficulty here? Stupid hard. Almost always the last question in Section 1 is stupid hard. You've got this function. It says the function g is defined by g of x equals f of x plus 5. For what value of x does g of x reach its minimum? So let's just write down what we're looking for. One word, minimum. And then what you're doing is you're going to take this function and you're going to follow these directions, which says add. You can do x plus 5. It means that every time you see an x, you're going to add 5 to it. So let's just start by rewriting this function here. 4 times how many x's here? 2 of them. So it's x plus 5 times x plus 5. Every x, I got to add 5 to it. Plus 64, there's another x plus 5, plus 262. Okay, we're going to take these terms one at a time. So we're going to deal with this completely before we move on. So this is 4 times, I'm going to FOIL this, x plus 5 times x plus 5, x squared plus 10x plus 25. Not done. Now I've got to do 4 times x squared, 4x squared, plus 4 times 10x, 40x, plus 4 times 25, 100. And now I'm done with that. So now I'm going to deal with this guy. Plus 64x, that's easy enough, plus 64 times 5. Definitely calculator math. 320. And then I just still got this 262 hanging out over here. And now I can combine terms. Here's an x squared term. Are there any others? No. Little trick here. Once you're done with that term, cross it out. Next thing is the x terms. 40x and 64x. Use your calculator. 40 plus 64. That's 104x. I'm going to get rid of those. And then now I just got 100 plus 320 plus 262. This part doesn't matter, but we don't necessarily know that at this point. Okay. All of this reduces to this thing right here. You're looking for a minimum. A quadratic minimum, you just have to remember this. It's negative b over 2a. Why? Because math people say so. A quadratic function looks like ax squared plus bx plus c. So what is your a term? A is 4. What is your b term? B is 104. C term doesn't matter because it's not in the quadratic minimum thing. So it's negative b, negative 104 over 2 times a, 2 times 4, which is 8. You're so close. Use your calculator. And you get negative 13. And that's the answer to this hard question. It's A. You get it right. And now you get to move on to section 2.